get rid of parking.
Oh, you already had one. Thank you.
All right, let's get started.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, we good? How's your Monday? So, it's sunny. Let's take it. All right, just a couple opening comments and then look forward to your questions. Always nice to see you all. We know President Trump's budget came out last week, and as they do in DC, the president puts out a budget. We're actively analyzing it. I think here's my message today. Not knowing exactly all the details, but what I would anticipate is that we need Congress to stand up to the president and make sure people are not hurt by some of the budget cuts that they're talking about, whether that's housing or human services. The federal dollars that are important to Oregonians are really about keeping people healthy and safe, and hopefully we won't see any reductions. But it's going to be up to Congress to put a budget out that actually stands up for people. I don't know if I have a whole lot new on the budget side on the federal administration update, but we're continuing to monitor. We get, new things every week. We're checking, budgetary streams and things like that. But I do want to talk about one in particular that made the news that I want to highlight. It's the U.S. Department of Education canceling about $1 billion in federal mental health grants. So after the Uvalde shooting, Congress stepped up and said we should have more resources for local school districts to help students who might be having mental health issues. And Oregon is also a recipient of some of those grants. Right now, we have $29.6 million over 5 years coming into Oregon for these student mental health grants. And that will have a direct impact on students' ability to get help when they need it in the school districts who are receiving the dollars. And right now, it's our understanding, and we can get you the exact numbers, Portland Public Schools, Multnomah County Education Service District, the Corbett School District, the Phoenix Talent School District. Remember, a lot of students still traumatized by the wildfires from 2020, could probably use that help, and also the Douglas County Education Service District, who, by the way, they're doing some really amazing work in Douglas County with their school districts and their healthcare providers to really do more intervention work when there are student behavior issues and mental health issues. It would be really unfortunate for them to lose these dollars because they are really, I think, putting some great programming together. So they might be one worth following up to see how that's going to impact them. I think it's just an ongoing pattern of pulling back on dollars that are having good positive impact in not only in Oregon but places around the country. And we will continue to fight back and do what we can, work with the Attorney General, see if we can hold on to the dollars that have been promised. But it is really troubling that we continue to see those actions from the Trump administration. So with that, I'm sure you have other questions for me.
So we're gonna switch off. Anka's got her huge mic. She'll give it to you, Dirk. Go ahead and wait for the mic.
I got that.
Hi, Dirk.
We are not seeing the Trump administration pull back on this call to cut costs as we saw with the budget. And I'm going to guess that if you analyze that and all that came to fruition, you'd be in a pretty serious budgetary hole potentially. I'm wondering, given that we won't know the extent of what Congress is going to do when we pass a budget, I don't think, how likely do you think a special session or some sort of emergency scrambling to reconcile our finances is going to be? People are talking about that more and more, I think, in the building as probably we might have to do it. I don't know, how are you thinking about that?
Well, I see special sessions as a tool that the legislature and I have to address any unexpected changes in the budget. I mean, I was around here during the Great Recession when, things were challenging, and special sessions obviously during the pandemic. I think this is a matter of timing. What is Congress going to do? What does our revenue forecast look like? Are we going to see the impacts of the tariffs later in the summer into the fall? And we've heard that from the economists. So there'll be a little bit of lag understanding the economic impacts of the tariffs, for example. So I think it's very difficult to project because maybe next week the president says no more tariffs or Congress doesn't pass his budget. So I just think it's really hard to tell. my message to legislators is do the best budget we can with the resources we have. We do have reserve funds that are triggered under certain circumstances, and we could get you a review of those, but those are, that's why we have the rainy day fund, that's why we have the educational stability fund. And and we're at, north of 10% of discretionary dollars with those reserve funds. So that will be helpful to have. But I want to step back and say, if the types of cuts that the Trump administration and Congress are contemplating go through, every state, including Oregon, will be devastated by those budget cuts. There is no way for state dollars, no special session or reserve funds included, that will be able to make up for that. And so I would just hope that Congress does the right thing and does not slash budgets that matter to people in their home states.
I have a remote question. Adrian Thomas with KPTV. This late into the legislative session, are you confident, Governor, that your proposed $771 million to fight homelessness will be supported by lawmakers? And what commitments have been made, if any, to Multnomah County as they face $100 million shortfall for their homeless services?
Okay, let me take the first one. So there is consensus with legislators and legislative leadership that we need to continue to focus on housing and homelessness. That has never been in question. We're all waiting to see the revenue forecast to decide, what resources will be available. What I've been saying to the co-chairs is we need to maintain our commitment that we have made to local communities who are also putting in money to maintain shelters and rehousing services. So I'm going to do everything we can to maintain that commitment. When it comes to the city of Portland and Multnomah County, there has been an update, and I think there's been a little bit of coverage about it. I said to the city and the county, you need to get on the same page about what additional emergency dollars you're going to need. Now remember, Multnomah County would also be receiving money under my budget already, but because of their budget cuts and the scale of the problem in Multnomah County, the challenge of serving folks, they are going to be short. So the city and county now have a joint proposal of asking for $25 million in addition to my budget to help them get through this challenging situation for them. And I'm supportive of that. Now, I don't know if we can get that money, but what I like is we now have a joint proposal with one number that my understanding is reflected in both the chair's budget and the mayor's budget. So all three are on the same page. We're all on the same page that that's what we would need to help get their budgets done on top of the resources already hoping to come from the state.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, getting up. Just a little bit here. The state recently signed this memorandum of agreement or understanding with a sort of insurance association here.
Yeah.
My question is, seems like a great plan to get the state and an insurance association in alignment about what people could do to their homes to stop their sky-high premiums. The state's run out of money for home hardening grants. OSFM has, it sounds like the defensible space, the home hardening grants are up. As far as I know, there's no legislation right now that would actually send Oregonians money to help do the work to mitigate against wildfire on their property or on their home. Can you walk me through sort of what's supposed to happen after this as far as ensuring that if people get these certifications, the insurers will honor maybe not a reduced rate, but a cause or less likely to rise fast? And then what is the legislature going to do to help people pay for it, if anything?
Okay, lots in there. Okay, so the session's not over yet, but I'm going to continue to fight for dedicated dollars and frankly new dollars to help to have more of these community-based grants that help not only individual homeowners harden and protect in wildfire, but the whole community. Because here's what we learned in this briefing last Friday, and I'm blanking on the name of the science. It's the Institute for
Business and Home.
So there's this nonprofit that literally tests how different types of structures and placement and materials keep communities safe when wildfires coming in. And it's based on science. So they literally test these things and say, if you do these things, maybe even have homes hardened around a neighborhood, and you don't have to harden everyone in the neighborhood, but you can better protect your community. I mean, they're really trying to figure out best practices. So the memorandum of understanding between the state fire marshal and this institute is to say, let's work together, figure out what works best, and let's apply it here in Oregon. What I think is important for us is we continue to have insurance for our homeowners here, despite the wildfire risk. That is not true in other states. We've been a lot more proactive. Now, we also want the price to come down, but minimum, we need to have insurance for our homeowners, right? Even if the price ticks up. Now, first things first, can we get entire communities more protected? And maintain property insurance coverage, right? And then maybe get to the secondary question, which, so when individual property owners do some things, what does that mean for them when it comes to their insurance costs? That's kind of the secondary piece. Right now, it's broader community resilience and hardening and maintaining the ability to get property insurance in the state of Oregon. And this institute's going to help us do that. Just a little bit of preview. Later in June, they're going to do a demonstration here in Oregon, so you're going to be able to see some of this to show how if you're building right and doing certain things, you can protect properties and communities better.
Is it just like in California, it's codified, insurers are required to put this into your calculus for your property insurance? Is there something coming down the pike for Oregon as far as if we do this, insurers will be required to be regulated as far as doing it?
I think I would refer you over to DCBS for the specifics, but what I heard on Friday was we still have an insurance market here in Oregon. California is really struggling to maintain insurance coverage. That's not our issue right now. Our issue is let's keep it, and I think by working with the insurance industry and the best practices for communities, we're going to have a different relationship than they have in California. And that's one of the things I heard on Friday, that they, for a whole lot of reasons, have made it very difficult to keep insurance in the state of Oregon, or state of California.
I have a question, Bradford from KEX Radio. Where does the transportation bill stand, and where do you want to see happen?
Well, legislators are still working on their transportation package. I think that they had, like I said last week, they have a good framework. They're asking all the right questions. My priority still is making sure that the Oregon Department of Transportation has the resources they need to provide the safety and maintenance of our roads that we need. And any accountability structures that people want to put on, I am open to them, but we need an agency that can actually meet the needs of Oregon. Ooh, lots of hands. Ooh, hello.
Hi, Governor. I just wanted to ask about the recent termination of the settlement between OHSU, or the recent termination of the merger between OHSU and Legacy Health. Do you have any comment on that? Was it as sudden as it was to us to you, and did you have any knowledge beforehand that this did happen?
Well, I'll just answer the last question first and say I had some general awareness that they were looking at the terms of their agreement. That is separate from the merger conversation, and that is the process to approve the merger by Oregon Health Authority. I don't have anything to do with that, have not talked to the health authority about that. My understanding, it's a mutual agreement to separate, go their separate ways. I think the question now for both institutions is how do we continue to make sure access to care is guaranteed in the metro area? They might end up doing it separately, but we have to continue to make sure there's access to care.
Hi, Governor. I wanted to ask about the plan that you and Portland Mayor Keith Wilson announced last week to assist in development trustees and essentially suspending them, right, to encourage more development. How do you, I guess I have two quick questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, what kind of response have you gotten to that? And the second one is, how do you balance that encouragement of more development, knowing that it will cost local government like millions of dollars that they're not going to be receiving for those projects?
Yep. We've had good response to the proposal. I think the city is doing the right thing, and I praise the mayor for being bold and saying, if we want more housing, we have to put something on the table. And I think system development charges are a good approach. And some other places have already done this, or they delay them, or if you're building certain types of housing, you don't have to pay them. We need more housing in Portland. They are behind. And this sends a clear message to the development community that we want your business in Portland and we want you to build housing. In terms of the dollars that would not be recovered at the moment, at least for up to 3 years, those are dollars they're not getting now, right? No housing gets built, those dollars are not coming into the city. I would rather see more housing come in, and then all the other types of benefits from that. Incomes, people come in, there's a business activity. When there's more housing, there are also other benefits, not just the SDC fees. And I also want to remind folks that SDCs were originally designed more for places where there was no infrastructure. This is in the central city core, in Portland, within the urban growth boundary. There is existing infrastructure. Now, don't want to do this forever, but for 3 years and to get up to 5,000 units, that would be a huge boom for the city of Portland, and I think it was the right step to take.
I have a remote question. This is the last remote question for now. Rose Valley Times, Governor Kotek. Has your office received the letter and petition from the Justice for the Teen campaign in Southern Oregon base regarding firefighter Brian Hakeem Simpson, the wildland firefighter sentenced to 70 months in prison after defending himself during what has been alleged to be an unprovoked attack in June? I was told a packet had been submitted and confirmed as received by your office. If you haven't had a chance to review the packet, can you comment on whether you're familiar with the case and if you plan to issue a statement?
I don't know if we received the packet. If anyone's reviewing it, it's probably my legal team, and I'm aware with the high-level details of the case. It is complicated, and appreciate people's advocacy, and we'll continue to review the case. Hi, Lauren.
About the mental health plan. I'm wondering if you've heard anything about that just being cut to pieces. You get any inkling of that?
I have not heard, I don't know, I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We can find out.
Okay, and then a better question. There was a bill in the state legislature this session that died that would have made the child welfare ombuds more independent, kind of like Fred's deal on a long-term care facility ombuds program. And I'm just wondering what you think about that idea, because we have had issues with the Oregon Youth Authority ombuds and the Department of Correction, and does it make sense to have these people who are, their role is supposed to be sort of a watchdog of the agency, report to people within the agency, or even report to the governor?
So across state government, we have quite a few ombuds positions, people who are, it's their job to take incoming concerns, complaints, and pass them along. I think the long-term care ombuds is a little different because that's required by federal law.
Right.
So, and they are independent, but that was established by federal law. My question about ombuds is always, will they have the resources and the ability to function in the way they want? I don't personally believe that they have to be completely separate from the agencies that they're receiving information about. We have an ombuds, for example, the Oregon Health Authority, who works on behalf of Oregon Health Plan recipients. They receive information, they report it up the chain, it has impact. So I don't necessarily think they have to be separate from an agency. What I want to make sure is, are people using them? Do people know about them? And when they have information to share with leadership, are they being heard? And I don't have any reason to believe that that's not happening.
But there was issues with the Department of Correction ombuds who felt like being within the Department of Corrections and then reporting to your office was problematic.
Well, that one's a little different only because, so the Department of Correction Ombuds Office was established many, many years ago in statute. It was reinvigorated during the COVID pandemic, and I actually worked on that when I was speaker, and the position was placed in the governor's office primarily because that's where it's the best place for an office that will help the Department of Corrections do their job better. It is in my office. We have someone in the position now who's doing a great job, and they also work in coordination with the Inspector General, because there is a position also within DOC that's also about process improvement and responding to complaints. I think we should do all of that, but I don't think we have a problem with the ombuds in my office. That was more or less, people didn't know where to put it, and it came into the governor's office.
Yeah. Okay. It's sort of hard to me to be a watchdog when your boss, if you're trying to report on problems that might look politically bad for somebody that you are reporting to, it seems like, apparently.
Well, every state does it differently. I mean, I don't assume where your office sits is inherently a conflict. To me, it's about what process do you have? Is your information being used and utilized? And every state does it different. And you can even see across Oregon state government, it's different in every different agency. It's like, so maybe that's a bigger conversation we have with the legislature versus just one-offs here and there. Because it is like, might have to be an enterprise conversation at some point.
Good. Oh, make an Anka run around.
With the big mic. Hi, Dick.
Hi, Governor. You, Senator Wyden, and others are saying you don't appreciate what the Trump administration is doing. But what practical effect can you have? I mean, you're not fond of the West Coast states. You're Democratic politicians. Is this just spitting into the wind? Or is there something you can really do to force Congress or help Congress make what you think are the right decisions?
Well, right now, I do think it's important to speak up, and I think you see that from Senator Wyden as well, and Senator Merkley and all the members of the congressional delegation. It's always important to stand up and say what's right and what's wrong, and if it's going to hurt people. The position for me is I'm going to stand up for the law that has been passed here in Oregon, whatever that issue is, right? So if our state law says a certain thing, I need to follow that. And we have to make it very clear to the Trump administration, it's like, I have to follow the law. This is about states' rights. This is about, Oregonians having their own laws. And I think we are doing things in a way that will lift up our state, and I'm going to keep telling people that.
And Governor, I was wondering, what's your response to the 30-day plan released by the Oregon State Hospital? And what other long-term steps are you planning to take to ensure that some of those problems, like staffing issues, authoritarian protocols, that they're addressed?
Thank you. I think the interim director there, Mr. Baden, is on the right track. I think his preliminary 30-day plan is focused on the immediate safety and health needs of the folks who are there, and that is good. But I will be asking him, well, what's next after that? And I think you raise a really good issue around staffing. We want to make the Oregon State Hospital a place where people who work there can feel supported and do the best job possible. We have way too much overtime. People need to have more consistent, regular scheduling. I do think we can be an employer of choice if we work on some of those things. So there are some broader, longer issues to making sure the state hospital is a place where we can retain and recruit the best folks to work there, because I do think we are understaffed, and that is, I think, contributing to some of the issues there.
One more? Oh.
There's like 6 or 8 bills right now that are related to electric utilities. I've never seen more utility lobbyists going around trying to get lawmakers, your resource advisors, everybody to, there seems to be a lot of conflicts around rates and liability and where that falls. The Northwest Power Conservation Council say major driver of near-term transmission growth demand is data centers. When the dust settles and the session is over, what can Oregonians expect about painful electric rates that have gone up 50% in 5 years? The continued assertion that data centers are driving a lot of the near-term investments that's driving costs up faster, right? This was 20 years out, and they were just talking about buildings and cars. It would be different. And what does it say about your Public Utilities Commission and maybe public trust there, that so many bills are being considered right now that kind of have to do with their work of regulating, making sure energy is affordable for Oregonians, protecting them from burning up in a wildfire should a power line ignited fire start? I guess I'm just wondering more broadly, like, what do you want out of the end of this? And what do you think it says about the Public Utilities Commission and maybe sort of more broad public trust or not in their ability to regulate?
Well, first of all, what I want to see for Oregonians at the end of the session is a renewed commitment to keeping utility rates low, giving the Public Utility Commission additional tools to do that, and more opportunities to put more of the burden on the folks who are using the energy. In this case, some of the large users like data centers should be doing more of their fair share, so it's not all coming onto residential ratepayers. I do think we need consistency on what we're expecting from the large utilities around wildfire risk, and we've started that a couple years ago, and that's a continuing conversation. So I expect improvements in all those areas with the legislation that's happening. I don't think it's a commentary on the PUC. I think it's more of a commentary on, we have challenges with the grid, we have challenges with wildfire, we have challenges with rates, and it's just a top-of-mind issue for legislators. And so correspondingly, you see a lot of bills about it. I do like the idea of giving the Public Utility Commission more tools to to do the right thing. And I set a letter of expectations to the PUC about, these are the things I need you to be thinking about. How do you keep rates reasonably low and consistent for folks? How do you deal with the bigger users? And how do you deal with risk and liability? Those are all really important, and my expectation with the PUC is they're going to follow through and do those things. And it's nice that the legislature's giving them some more options.
My name is Mrs. Spoke. We've got time for one more. Or not.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.